Hi everyone, thank you for coming for tonight's Lewagan and Ewan's workshop. Um, it's time, but before we dive into a workshop, I'd like to go work through a little bit of Lewagan. Let me share my screen. All right. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Before we start tonight's workshop, a quick intro to Lewagan. We're #1 coding bootcamp for coding bootcamp school globally for 3 years. We're here to help reshape your career through immersive web dev and data science bootcamps with options for full-time and part-time. Full-time is 9 weeks and part-time is 24 weeks. If you want to learn more about it, just let me know. And quick overview. So now in Japan, we've had over 46 batches, making us the first coding bootcamp in the country. We pride ourselves of diversity with the participants from over 40 nationalities and 40% of women, and our community spans various ages with an average of 29 years. And what we teach is, now you might be wondering, what exactly do we teach at Lewagan? In our web development and data science bootcamp is as you've seen on the screen. And we get that, we have a little bit of an alumni story. So we have our data scientists and web developers and product managers and of course entrepreneurs. And also we get that educational investment, leverage our financial options too. So we have our Tech for Good Change Maker Scholarship, and now you can save up to 560,000 Japanese yen. And our upcoming events is, and those who want to explore more about Lewagan, we have our hybrid open campus coming up next week, Wednesday. And additionally, also mark your calendars for August 30th, Friday, our demo day. So we still haven't decided where to do it, but you will get to witness the amazing project our students have worked on, all while enjoying some free pizzas and drinks, and yeah. So come join us. Thank you. So I believe we have nice people coming. So Owen, hi.
Hi there. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. So
So
I just hope you hear me well.
yeah, we
Okay,
can hear
great.
you very well. So we're recording this and we're going to share you later the link. And if you have question, please drop on the chat and keep the mic muted as possible. Yeah. All right. So stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, then it'll be my turn. So nice to meet you all. This is actually my very first online workshop. I did a previous one last year with Lewagon Tokyo. So it's quite a bit intimidating, but anyway, it's gonna be all right. So I'm going to share my screen, and if you see my screen, can you use the reaction feature on Zoom with the thumbs ups just to tell me if you see it? Oh, perfect. I see some reactions already. That's great. Thank you. All right, so we're here for 1 hour and a half, and I'll tell you every details in a few minutes. Okay, So first of all, like I said, nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. So just a quick disclaimer for French speaking and Japanese speakers. Donc bonjour à tous ceux qui me rejoignent aussi en français. Désolé, ce workshop du coup sera fait en anglais. Et pendant le replay, vous aurez sûrement la traduction. 日本語の皆さん、おはようございます。このワークショップは英語で行われます。本当にごめんなさい。でも、リプレイでは、あります。はい。I'm sorry, that was a bit blurry and still learning Japanese. So, here we go. So before we start, I just want to make sure that you have two things. These are the important questions. First of all, do you all have one laptop and one smartphone on hand? You can use the reactions to tell me if I see this. Okay, I see already some people reacting. Great. Okay, perfect. And do you all have Figma installed on your laptop? And if you can also download the official Figma app because we're going to use it afterwards. It's going to be really important. Okay, so if you have not done it yet, you can download it for free, the Figma app, and use the same account you did when you registered on your laptop account. Okay, great. So let's get straight to the point. In this workshop, you will that's the future. You will create your own interactive prototype. So we won't go through all the stages that UX designers cover just to create a professional prototype. We'll do it because it's a workshop to learn and how to use Figma. So you create your own and you will be able to test it. That's why I asked if you had Figma on your phone as well. And yeah, that's gonna be plenty enough for today. So I hope it's a workshop you're gonna enjoy. So here's the schedule. We're first going to do a brief introduction to some notions I'm going to talk about, which is UX design, UI design, prototyping, design thinking, and stuff. And we're going to then switch to the main workshop exercise, which are going to take us around 50 minutes, I think. And in the end, we'll do a workshop with you for like the 10 last minutes. So that's more accurate like this. I think we're going to overstep a bit, but I'm going to try to rush it up so you won't be overflown with theory that you don't really need to, but it's always interesting. So we'll focus especially on design thinking, like I said, on design systems, which we are going to use. And we're gonna cover all the aspects of Figma for beginners and also another tool, which is called FigJam, which you see right now, which is used for research purposes. And I'm going to share you the link to the file so you can access this afterwards. Okay, so this workshop, yeah, like I said, the overall duration of the workshop is 80 minutes. And yeah, I'm sorry, it's very impolite of myself. I forgot to introduce. So I'm Ewan Dulin. I'm a French UX designer, and I got graduated last year in UX design and interactivity master's degree. And I have over 7 years of experience in different companies, schools, startups, agencies. So I already gathered a cool experience, a cool range of skill sets that I'm using still today. And I'm doing a bit of freelance. So I started in the architecture school. Then I switched to agencies. So I work with the creativity world also. And recently also I had experiences with startups. So I know a bit more about the procedures in the industrial world, how to have manufacturing production plants with technology and with UX design, just to power up the processes. And the two highlights of my career so far, it's been that with a previous startup, we went at Station F, which is a very, very well-known startup campus in the world. And with the recent one, which is called Juno, we raised 3 million euros for our startup in only 1 year of existence. And I was highly active in this project. So this is things I'm really proud of. Yeah. And of course, I'm proud of my master's degree as well. All right. So let's move on. Animations are quite slow. I'm sorry about that. So yep, the core skills I have right now today are lo-fi and hi-fi prototyping. I just detail it a bit further. And which are also UX and UI design optimized for ergonomy. ergonomy, which is the science of doing optimizing every digital product so it can be easily usable by human beings. All right, so now it's time to introduce yourself, and that's the first interaction we're going to do. We're going to use FigJam. So I'm going to share you the screen, and I'm going to share you the link so you can access to the file, and I just guide you just to create our first exercise. So here is the link to the file. Anyone can access this. So I remind that with a single account, you can access FigJam, Figma, and another product, which is more recent, which is called Figma Slides. So I'm starting to see more people over there. Oh, hello. Hello there. All right, so this is a resource file that we're going to use during the workshop. And the first thing you can do is join me on this area, which is called personalized tags. I inputted a lot of templates where you can just write your name, your surname here. And you can also tell me about yours, your job, your expectations for today. And if you want, you can also copy paste from the internet. Just copy image and paste some GIF or some images just to show me your mood for today. And we're gonna limit this to around, oh yeah, approve for sure. We're gonna limit this for, let's say 2 minutes, just so you can get your hands on FigJam and the interactions. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to do mine as well, so you can have an example. So, yep. Don't judge me on my nickname. So I'm a UX designer. And if you want to add more sticky notes, you can either duplicate them like this, or you can alt-click to duplicate it. All right. So I see already some people in the chat. Dictate, but there's nothing, just wait. I think I accepted you. Man. All right, can edit, can view. Oh, there's a lot of people that cannot really edit. Okay, no problems. I'm just gonna turn the edit view for anyone. Yep. All right. Anyone can now edit this file. Tell me if it's all good for you. All right, so let's hear. It's okay, just take your time. You don't need really to fill in the workshop. It's just so you can take your hands on FigJam already. It's just a white screen. Oh, okay. So if you're on a white screen and you can't see anything, what you can do is you see this area over here. Here's my logo with the dashed one. You can click on my logo so you can see my view. For instance, if I click on Ayman, I'll see Ayman's view, what he's zooming at, where he's heading to. And if you want to catch me up, you can click on my logo there. But that's okay, you can have time to do this afterwards. Okay, so right here, we're gonna find the resources we need afterwards. And we're going to shift back afterwards to a proper Figma file. I'm sorry. All right, back to the presentation. So in this workshop, we're gonna talk about a few words, which are UX design, UI design, experience, and interface. So these words need proper definition. And one thing I want you to do first is to jump into this space up there. And you can see that here I inputted some boards with each of these terms. And what you can do is create sticky notes around there to give me your own definition of what is design, what is experience, what is interface, and what is users. And we're going to do the same exercise. It's going to be easier this time, no worries. and you got 2 minutes again. So for people who was lost, just a reminder, clicked on my profile picture, which is the dashed one over there. Oh, it works. Nice. And you can take inspirations of definitions made by the previous people. So the other sticky notes are back from the first time I did a workshop in Tokyo in December. All right. Okay. Let's see what you get, guys. So here I want design. You can add whatever definition you want, describe it in your own words. It doesn't need to be specific or exact or whatever. Oh, someone duplicated the board. That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, just be careful. Just click right on the sticky notes before duplicating it. Otherwise, it's gonna duplicate the whole board. It's gonna be a bit messy, but that's okay. Because right now this file is for everyone, and once we do the proper workshop exercise, it's gonna be individual files that you're gonna use. Okay, 30 seconds left. So what have you people included? Okay, critic and useful. CSS and fancy. Okay, great. Good layout between things. Designing products, great. Yep. Experience. Okay, Lily, what did I tell you? Memory, meaningful. Okay. Yep. An important factor to avoid software and services. Should bring joy. Yep. Okay, time's up. Let's just review it quickly before we move on. Planning, concert, and create something. Yes. Pragmatic and useful. Absolutely. Okay, yeah, I didn't have enough time. That's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna hand over to the next because for a simple reason, all the definitions you inputted are correct because if I define user experience has the word user and experience, of course, but it means that users are at the center of attention of this discipline, and the kind of exact definition, which is done by Don Norman, I told about this one later on, it is all the aspects of end users' interaction with the company and its service and its products. So it involves that if a user is in relationship with a company through a product, through a digital service, user experience involve every of these aspects, which are material, digital, or informal. And user experience are covering a highly range of fields, which are industrial design, graphical design, interactions, engineering. A lot of stuff can be, let's say, engulfed through user experience design. And the term user experience design was first coined by these two men, which are Don Normal and Nielsen, Jacob Nielsen. So they are kind of the godfathers of UX designs. Let's talk about user interface then. It's quite different this time because the term user is still here, but we use interface to design them. So I think you guess where I'm trying to go with this. It means that it enables man-computer symbiosis and decision-making rather than waiting for signals. This is a very old definition, but it means that it focuses more on visual aspects and visual hints to take decisions. So the user interface involves simplicity, precision, humanization. Also, it's really, really important to give signs that are understandable by humans and not by machines. And more than everything, it gives guidance. So that means that people, when they see visual signs, visual instructions, they know what to do. Thanks, Jose. For instance, when you see a button on whatever interface you see, you know you have to click on it, or you know you don't need to click on it. That's kind of, let's say, utopian because most of the time we don't know what to do with a button, but that's the work of a UX design. And the first user interfaces are far more older, let's say, that UX design, because they came back as early interfaces we had even on military devices as radars or scanners or stuff like this. So it's far more older than UX design. And like you saw, these notions focus on common aspects, which are, in the end, the users. So that can be humans, family, old people, kids, salarymen, laborers, doctors, engineers, anyone which is in contact of a digital product, a physical product, which involves or not interface. But users are at the center of the attention of everything. And even you in the end, because these products have a common goal, let's say common essence, a reason to live. It's to be used by people, not by machines. So that's a really big difference and a really crucial aspect we need to focus on. So a brief history of UX design through the ages. So it started really long ago, before even the term UX design was coined. And you see that through all these evolutions, well, there is always this quest for optimization and bringing a bit more the users to the center of attention of any, let's say, product or service. And I think the area over there, starting in 1984 with the release of the Macintosh 128K, was really the first time UX was involved into the tech world, because we started to have computers that needed specific interface to help people use these new machines, because today we use smartphones as we brush our teeth. But back in the days, that was completely new, that was completely game changer for people. So we needed them to adapt. And today there's the same thing as we have the VR right now, the virtual reality. Virtual reality is far older than what we think. But back in 2015, when there was the release of first VR headsets as Oculus Rift, I'm sorry, we need to design an interface that would be easily usable by people and understood, even though that was in 3D and there was not really boards to stick the interface to. That was kind of complicated. And when I say that UX design can even be immaterial for people who are located in Tokyo, I hope you already visited the Team Labs Planet experience. And for me, it's a really specific notion of user experience, because there's no interface necessarily, let's say human to screen interactions, but the whole space itself is an experience, because we want to make them dive into a sort of fantasized reality or alternate reality with the game of lights, of senses, of touchings. You even have your feet in water at some points. And it's really important to focus on all the aspects of how humans are going to interact with all of these aspects. And UX is not just about design, like I told you. It can be also used for research. So we call it user research, for market analysis, for interviews, or even if you do some testings in the end. It can be used specifically for analysis, for when you do some audits and you do some monitoring. For instance, if you want to do a competitive monitoring on which softwares are the most used by people and why is that, then you can focus also on what is the UX between these two products, which makes the overused product more popular rather than the one that has a poor UX. And it can be also used for strategy. So you can use it also for service mapping and create some innovations. What I mean by this is that if you have a product you want to make evolve towards a certain market or develop new features, you need to think beforehand, before even starting to code. What are my final intentions? Do I want to bring people into a new market? Do I want them to develop new skills? Do I want them to embark them on a brand new theme or whatever? But you need to think of this beforehand, and you can do it thanks to UX design. And so UX design lives for solely one thing in the end, before even coding. It's to be tested. So this is why we are creating interactive prototypes. And this is what Figma enables you. So we're starting to link things up before the workshop. So the first thing you can do when you do UX design is starting to do some sketches, to do some notes, do some rough sketches of screens, of people, of interviews, or whatever. But it's all blurry at some points because it's only IDs. The next step you can do is starting to get more, let's say, informations and starting to draw up more concepts. Like, for instance, in manufacturing, you can interest yourself in, like, how do I enable my workers to report an error on the production plants? If there is a piece that is manufactured in a bad way, or there are some debris over there, how do I report to my supervisor? So this is some concept you start to get interest with. So you start to link these two things up. And then you start to create some wireframes. So wireframes are some, let's say, early stages prototypes where you don't even need icons, fancy fonts, cool colors or stuff. You just need to do some bricks, basically. You just need to rough things up so you can convince people that even with a bad visual aspect, even with a low fidelity, that's the term I used before, with a low fidelity of the prototype that is going to look in the end, you can take leaps of faith because you think, okay, we're sure we are targeting the right goals for the right people, and we are sure it's going to work at some points. And these three aspects, you can link them in the end to something more concrete, which is a prototype. And this is exactly what Figma enables you. So you see here is an example of a prototype. So it's the official images of Figma. And this is precisely what it enables you to do. So here they wanted to create a sort of workshop for flowers. Well, they only wanted a design which is close to what app mobile marketplaces have. And then they managed to mix these ideas into one interactive prototype. So this is what we're trying to reach with product design and interactive prototyping. And prototyping is even more crucial because of one thing. So this thing represents a product development cycle. So it means that any products are never stable. They always need to grow. They always need to innovate because they get more ideas, more concepts, more insights in the end. And so they need to make all of these 5 steps gather on. So the first step is always to brainstorm. Then you want to define the objectives. And then you have these 2 steps, which are design and testing. Design because you need at some point to have a sort of template, a sort of early stage prototype just to see visually what is going to look like in the end. Because even before coding, if you don't want to lose too much time on development and getting bothered with design troubles that developers can't really handle, you need to make sure beforehand that it's possible for them and that the final users are interested in the product because it matches their motivations, their goal, what they're wanting to reach. Otherwise, the product is not really useful to them. And in the end, this is this last step. You need to test it. You need to test it before launching because you need to make sure, like I said, it's matching the intended goals. And these 2 aspects is what we'll focus on today with interactive prototyping. So to sum it up, UX design is about introspection and research, especially, and more than anything, it's hypothesis bound. That means that it's purely theoretical. It's not exact sciences. UI design is more about information and identity, and it also focuses on the well-being of users. Are they not lost with all the signals that I'm sending them? And prototyping is more about a storyboard. It's made to be tested, and especially it's interactive. If users are only passive through the prototyping, they're just watching like a slide presentation, a slideshow. It's not really relevant for them because they don't feel involved into the prototype. You need to make sure that they can test it by themselves. And more than anything, it's really fun to do this. I really love this job. So that's why I'm sharing with you today. So let's move on to the main course, creating a prototype. And today we're gonna prototype a mobile app. So not a whole mobile app, please be reassured, but we're gonna use an existing app and we're gonna add it a new feature. And while doing this exercise with me, your skills will grow naturally. Because at the beginning, we'll only do this, yes, scribbles and just adding random shapes into the screens. That's okay, that's normal because we need to discover the first tools of Figma. And I can guarantee you that in the end, we'll reach something like this with real users, real UX design aspects in it, and real design system assets from official design systems like Google's one for Google Map. And it will be more, let's say, fancy in the eye. So I'm gonna grade down the exercise. The first step is we're gonna do a quick tour of the Figma tools and their interface. And then we're going to design a first screen. So we're going to use a replica of a design screen for any app you want. So I'll tell you which one I want to specifically focus on. And in the end, we'll create an interactive user flow and we'll test it on our smartphone. So a user flow, it means that we're going to create a scenario with our screens, with our designs. We're going to create something that is interactive and where there's an evolution. Like I have a goal at the beginning and how thanks to my prototyping, can I reach this goal? I'm going to explain to you. So we'll take inspiration from two major products I'm sure you know about. First one, Google Map. So this is the world's most used GPS navigation app, and it has some really cool features like the ability to set up multi-transport routes for if you want to take transportations, your car or bike. It has real traffic monitoring and also some cool insights about your local neighborhood. And we're going to focus on the quite new app, which is Google Gemini. And I'm sure you know a competitor of Google Gemini, of course, ChatGPT. So it's Google's natural language-based AI assistant, and it's really optimized for research because it has direct access to the search engine of Google. So it is integrated with their ecosystem, so it can bring up some maps, some images, some documents, even from your Google Suite. So this one is really cool. So I'm sure you see where I'm going with these two propositions. In the end, we're going to mix them up. And here's a quick prototype of what we're going to do. We're going to create a Google Gemini widget, which allows you to create a cool interaction on Google Maps. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So we'll implement the Gemini feature within Google Maps. And I can tell you that it's something that doesn't really exist right now because it only exists the other way around. You can have maps prompted in your Gemini research, but Gemini is not implemented in Google Maps. So I'll tell you about this in a few minutes. And before I move on, do you have some questions on the chat? Don't forget to tell me them right now before we can move on. Is everyone okay? All right. So even if I don't have time to read them or we're doing the prototype exercise, just don't hesitate to ask your questions in the chat so I can answer them later on. So now, time to craft. Okay, so I hope you have all your Figma ready. I'm going to turn on a feature that allows you to see the keystrokes I do. So it's going to be easier. And we're going to do this step by step. First thing first, once you land on Figma, you're going either to land on the recent tab of there or on the drafts remove here. The first thing you're going to do is create a new design file. So you're going to head over to this over there, the plus tab, and it will prompt you which type of file do you want to create. You can either create a design file, a FigJam board, which is the one we used earlier, or a new product, which is a slide deck. This is what I'm using to create my slideshow right now. So the one we're going to use is the design file. So I'm clicking on the design file. And here you'll land on this gray space with nothing at all. That's completely normal. So just to remind everyone, the design file you create, you are the only person right now to have access to it. So it's only your private file, and it will be stored. If you go back to the home button, like this, it will be stored in your drafts here. You see right now, entitled, this is the file I just created. So I save it so it's easier to get back later on. Okay, so here is a quick tour of Figma. You have the header with the main tools over there. Here you have a drop-down menu. So on Mac, it's probably different. The options menu are probably higher up on the menu, but it's the same options. So you can also save a local copy of your file. It will save it in your Explorer locally outside Wi-Fi, because right now these files are synced with the Figma cloud. So you can access this with whatever computer you want, as long as you have access to your account, of course. So I don't know if you know about Adobe Creative Suite. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I do a quick tour of the main tools. You have the arrow tool, the basic one. You can move, you can select, and if you hold spacebar, you can drag and drop your whole artboard, such as it is. The second one is the frame tool. The frame tool is a tool that allows you to create a frame. Yeah, thank you, Captain Obvious. But it's used to lay down the components and the graphic elements. So you can either create a frame like this, just by holding the mouse and dragging it down just to create a custom frame, and it has its backgrounds. Or you can also create a frame based on a device layout. So for instance, if I click on iPhone 14 and 15 Pro, it will create a vertical artboard, a vertical frame, like this. So here you have the basics of the frames. And if you click on the arrow next to the frame icon, you can also create sections. And sections are used to group your frames together. So same thing, you can just left click and then drag it to wrap both of them. And here you have your frames wrapped up in a section. So you see, you start to see the layers panel on your left starting to fill up a bit. So that means that every element you create in this file will be stored in the layer section. So that means that the frame one can be found here, and the iPhone one can be found here. And same thing for the section. And if you don't want to see the underlined layers, you can also collapse the section one feature like this. And if you want to hide it, you can also, there's the eye icon over there. And if I click on the frame one, it will mask only the frame one. You see, it's not over there. I'm gonna change the color so you can see a bit more what I'm talking about. Here it's masked. And if I hide the section one, it hides everything contained within the section. And you can also lock it. And if you lock it on top of the layer at the top, it will lock every element contained within it. So that's the basics for the frames. The other one, slice, is not really important. We'll focus on the other ones. Shapes. So the basics in any, let's say, DTP tool like Adobe Illustrator or Sketch. Shapes allows you to create shapes. Yes, I know. So the first thing you can do is click on the square and create a square. So it creates a rectangle. If you want to create a perfect square, you can hold Shift and click on drag to create a perfect square. So this is the basics of dynamic shapes in Figma. This is vectorized, so it's not pixelated. So if you zoom on it, if I control and zoom, you'll see that there's no pixel deterioration because it's vectors. So you can zoom as deep as you want. You won't see any aliasing. That's what I mean. And these shapes have properties. So the properties are here on the right tab, which is called design. If I click on my shape, I'll see the location of the shape within the section. So I can move it horizontally and vertically. I can change also the width, the height. So any shapes have their own width and height, only these two dimensions. So here it's locked. So that means that if I change width, it will change also the height. And if I can uncheck the constraint proportions icon, and then I'll change any parameter individually. And of course, you can use these handles, these blue handles over there, to change it as you wish. The other property you can have is the rotation. So you see here the icon on the top right handle. You can rotate the shape however you want, and you can also go there. And if you want to create, let's say, a more mobile app-like vibe to your shapes, you can add corner radius. That's a really, really cool feature, this one. It's really easy to use. You only need to use one of these four dots over there, and you can drag it down. So you can have a square with cornered radius, which are more pleasing to the eye, let's say. And you can also enter it manually. If I say 8, it will set it to 8. Okay. Next thing you need to know is about the color. So any shape has two properties for visual aspects, which are the fill, which is the fill color. So here, if I click on the square, on the gray square, I can change it to red, for instance. So if you use already a hue tool, you will know how it works. And I can also fill it with a gradient. If I change it from here to here, and I can use whatever property I want, change the color. So if I want it to be like blue, it can. So this is only the filling color, because I'm gonna go over there, getting it out of the frame. If I hide the fill, then the shape becomes completely transparent, but it hasn't disappeared yet. It's still visible in the layers panel. I can, if I want, only do an outlined layer by adding a stroke. So if you want to add a new color, you add it through the plus here. And you can add a new color. And if you don't want it anymore, you can remove it by clicking on the minus. So strokes also have their individual properties. You can create a specific strokes for color. And you can change the width of the strokes. So here I say up to 16, and then we have a wider stroke. And if I want, I can also change whether in the shape this stroke applies. If it needs to be inside the shape, outside the shape, or at the center of it. And it reacts perfectly to this. All right. So you can either create rectangles. You can also create ellipses for creating perfect squares if you want. You can create stars. Yeah, that's great. And you can create a custom polygon with as many points as you wish. So if you go there, you can click on the icon and then drag starting the icon here to add more faces to your polygon. So I'm just gonna go there and see the chat. Can you show me how to do a linear color again? Of course. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't saw the others. So to do the gradient color, you need to edit the filling properties. And instead of the black square you see here, you click on the gradient one. And then you have the gradient properties. So it doesn't need only to be linear, it can be also radial. So you change linear to radial here. And then the shape starts to glow at the center of the star. And then you can edit whether you want to position the color or whether you want to change the color itself. Okay, so any more question? Is the fill on the shape a raster or vector? It's on a vector, And yes, how to show the rules, the rulers, sorry. The rulers allows you to, sorry, it's my bloody French accent. It allows you to bring out some guides where you can stick your shapes to. You see, it's magnetic like this. And to show these rulers, you go to the options, you go to view. So you can toggle it over there or not. Right. So here are the basics of Figma. And if you want to create a custom shape, you can also create it with the pen tool just by adding as many points as you want. You can either create shapes like this, like linear shapes with only a stroke, or you can create a closed shape with the pen by linking every points between them, like this. And then you can add a fill. You can also add some text. So text are over there. You can type whatever you want. So the classic lorem ipsum. And to change the properties of the fonts, it's right there. So you can change whatever font you want. You can change the boldness if you want to create a variant with a thin font. You can change the font height and you can align them. And also the text box comes with a really cool feature. You can either select a fixed size for your text box like this, or you can auto set the width to the length of the text. If I had more like this, then the size of the text box will auto adjust, such as it is. So this tool is the same as holding the spacebar, so it's not really relevant. And if you want to go really further, you can implement components right there through the components. You can also use plugins, some custom plugins made by Figma users or by official companies. And there's also some nice widgets like the cursors here. You can change it like grab progress. But yeah, that's not really stuff we're going to use. Okay. So this is the basics of Figma. This is using the tools used for prototyping. So now it's time to move to prototyping. So I'm just going to move to a previous file, but you can stay there. I'm going to share a screen capture of Google Maps, or if you want, you can take your own capture of your own Google Maps through your phone and copy and paste it directly to Figma. So I'm going to add it. Where is it? Yep, over there. This is directly from my phone this morning. So it doesn't dox me, no worries. I hidden my location. And what we're going to do first is we're going to replicate the screens with the tools we have here on Figma. So to do this, I'm going to go very simplicity. I'm going to go with really simple instructions. First thing you can do is create a rectangle to create a search bar. And then add a lot of corner radius to create the shape of the search bar. And then I can add some type, which is search here for the prompt. I'm going to add a bit more size to it. And then group the sections over there. So this is my first shape. So yeah, if you want me to show it again, you can create groups of shapes so it can be far more easier to organize your stuff. So here, I hold Shift, I click on the text, I click on a rectangle, and then I group things up together, and it creates a solid element, which is the search bar. Then I'm going to create the ellipsis with the icon within it. And to use the icons, I'm going back to FigJam because I added you these, which are the Google Systems official assets. And you have here the material design icons. So design systems used by Google is called material. So you can click on this file. It will open a new tab in your Figma file. So I use to open it on my main account. And I will have access to every icons made by Google and which are included in their material design system. So I just pick up an icon there. So this file is not editable. You don't have access to it. It's only an icon resource. So let's say, yep, this compass looks like really great. So to import these icons, I'm just going to click on copy, going back to my tab and paste it. And I'm going to paste it at the center of my shape. And then again, I'm going to group these two together. But let's say that these components, I'm going to use it a lot of time. So I need to add an interaction to this. So to add interactions to elements on a prototype, what you do is you create components. So to create a component, you can select whatever item you want, whatever object you created or imported, and you right-click, and you see here, it's stated create component. And once you do this, you notice that the icon of a diamond will show up in front of the layer's name, and the handles will become purple, sorry. So that means that this item there is a component. So this one here is the master component. So that's the one we're gonna edit to edit all other components. What are components? They are elements that are replicated within your design, but which are instanced. So what I mean is that if I copy and paste my component, you see here, the diamond is open. So that means that it's an instance of the component. If I duplicate it, if I do loads of my components and it's duplicated anywhere on my design, let's say I want to change the background color of these components. Well, it will be a pain if I do it anywhere else in the app. So editing the master component can be a far more easier solution. So I just need to go on my master component there, click on the fill property, and then change the color. And you see, any instance is automatically updated. So it's far more easier to edit design with a load of components. So I copy my instance. I'm going back on the fill. Oh, I see you have some questions. How do you get the Google icons into the canvas again? So I'll show it again. Going back to FigJam, it will ask you if you want to open a new tab, and it will open the material design system over there. And you go to this pages, which is called material design icons. And then you just need to copy and paste the icon over there. And if you want to go back quicker to the design file, you can also select the icon, right click, and if you click to go to main components, you'll land on the original design file. And then you have more choices over there. Okay, we're going to try to speed up things. So this component, I want it to have two states. Once when it's like this, disabled, and once where it's clicked. So it has a different background color. So I'm going to create a property. To create a property, I'm going to select my master component, no problem, and click on the plus here to create a variant. So I'm not gonna cover booleans because it's too complicated. And I'm going to create a variant of the current state I have. So the first property I have here is called property 1. It has a default state. And here is the variant number 2. So if I change, for instance, the color of variant number 2, it won't edit the others. Why? Because these instances understood that there's multiple properties within the components. So they are set on the default state, which is this one. And if I want them to have the red background, I set them to variant 2. And then they start to have these edits over there. And let's say that I want these components to turn red once I click on it. So then it's a completely different game. I select the variant. I go to the prototype tab next to the design tab over there. And I'm going to create my first interaction. The interactions are over there, and it's a trigger that will either swap a states between two variants or trigger an animation. So to create an interaction, I go to my variants, I hover over the plus icon there, and while dragging, it will pop up an arrow like this. So I'm going to link it to the next stage. And here I have the interaction property. So the things you need to know about here is whether I want to, how I want to trigger this interaction. So here it's on click, that's great. I can also ask to trigger this animation once I do a keyboard stroke. So let's say H, for instance. I set it to H. Change to, it tells me what the property is going to do. So it's going to change between two states. So I leave it there. It has the destination of the interaction. So if I have multiple variants, then I can choose on which variant I want to make the transition to. And I can change also the animation of this transition. So here it's the instance, so it's going to flash if I'm going to hit H on my keyboard. But let's say I wanted to make it more smoother. So I choose dissolve over there. Here is the duration in milliseconds of the animation. And ease out is how it's going to pop up. So you see here is a preview. It's going to dissolve like this. So that's fine with me. I leave it here. So once you did this, I'm going to group every of these elements. There's already plenty. And I create a frame section. Why a frame section? Is because everything within here is grouped. So that means that if I group and move the frame over there, every element contained within it will move as well. So I create also an interaction to go back to the previous state. Same stuff, H on the gamepad. And to preview your interaction, you'll need to select the frame. So me, it's number frame 43, but yours is going to be different. And once I'm on it, I click on the play button on the header on the far right end of the header. And when I hit present, it's going to load another tab, which is the preview tab. And there you'll see, hi, your prototype you just made. And here you cannot design anything. It's only to preview what you just did. So if I want to preview it, I'm just gonna need to head over to the instance elements. And if I hit H, oh, turns red with the dissolve. So that means that the interaction is working properly. So going into preview mode allows you to verify that your interactions are working well. So yeah. Okay, so before replicating this screen, I'm going to speed up the things a little bit, and it'll be easier because thanks to the Google Material Design System, I have already all the elements I just did. So I'm going to copy them into the FigJam, and you can also copy paste them into your Figma file as well. So you just need to do some puzzle. That's gonna be far more easier like this. So I can move on to the next section. So copy these elements and try to place it on the screen. Okay? All right, back to work. Oops, sorry. Let's say that I want to replicate this row of filters here, which are park, restaurants, attractions, and stuff. And I want, if I scroll them horizontally, to move them along the way, so I can have multiple choices hidden. So to do this, yep, I'm just going to replicate this and ungroup it so you can see it. So here I created every of the elements I want to fill in this area. So there are far more that can fill the screens. It's going to go over the limit of the screen. So I need to find a trick. So the trick is I'm going to select all of these filters. I'm going to right click and hit frame selection. By doing so, each of these elements, once again, are linked together, but they are also stacked together. So that means that currently they have the same space. And if I want to change the space between them, I can change it directly from here. And if I want them to fill my screen, Then I'm going to hold Control. That will bring them inside the frame 43. I'm going to rename it into screen layout. All right. And you can see there that this row is over there. But once again, it's going over the limit of the screen. So I'm going to place it correctly. And I'm only going to resize the row over there. And again, it's still going over the limit of the screen. To hide the content that is outside the blue border, I hit clip content. And once I do this, you can see here that any filters that are outside the limits of the frame are hidden, but they are still visible. And if I want to create the cool interaction that I said, which is scrolling horizontally, I'm going back into the prototype tab, and then I'm going to change the scroll behavior. So here I'm going into overflow, and I'm going to hit horizontal. And once I go back to my preview mode, a bit of time just to load things up. Yep, over there. If I hold the area here and scroll it, you can see that, whoa, magic, it's moving. And it's moving within the range, within the limit of the frame. So that means that I stopped the size of the row over there, and the shapes are not overstepping the limit. They're staying within the frame limits. So this is how we can do some stacked elements like this, which are really cool. And last thing up is how you position any of these elements together. So here is the group of the background cards and the navigation bar. So I imported it directly through the Google Design System. So before grouping things up, if I import it at the last time, let's say the card, then it's gonna be over the navigation element, which are not something I want. So first things up, I group these two elements together. I'm gonna deploy the group over there and search for the navigation bar, and I'm gonna move it above the card there. You can either move things up in the layers panel, or you can directly hit the element, right click on them, and then bring to front or send to back. It's far more easier like this. And now these elements, I need them to be pixel perfect. So they need to be exactly aligned on the same size. So let's say that the card here is a bit longer than the navigation bar. First thing I do, I select both of them, and then I go hit the align horizontal centers properties. So if I do this, they are going to be aligned on their center, you see? But the background is bigger than the navigation bar. So what I can do is selecting one of the vertical edges of my selection. I'm going to hit Alt, and by left clicking this, I'm going to reduce the horizontal size so we can snap the edges of the navigation bar. And here it is. So if I implement group over there and place it on my screen, I can also simply select the group there, hit align horizontal center, so it can be automatically fit inside the center of the screen. And I can move it downwards, 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 downwards. And once I preview it, you can see that, ooh, it's already there. So if your screen is a bit wider than your current screen, if you need to scroll to see what's on the bottom, what you can do is hit this property over there, fill screen. And then it's gonna automatically resize your prototype to the right scale. So you can see everything up. Okay, So this is basically what we're going to use for the main workshop. We have what? Okay, 25 minutes. It's going to be enough time. So now I know how to design my screens and I know how to create custom shapes, custom elements. So now let's say that I want to create the same transition as I did previously, which is this one, going from this to this. So to do so, I'm going to need multiple frames. You need to think as a storyboard of what you want to do, what you want to achieve with your prototype. So you need to have a starting point. So I create my first board, which is already there. Oh, hello. This is my starting screen. And as we said, we wanted to implement a Google Gemini feature in the screen. So when you're doing UX design, you're also focusing on real people's goals. So you need to be aware of what people really want to. So you make a bit of research. If I go there to the interactive prototype, I don't know if you noticed, but I created profiles of two persons that might use my prototype. So this one is a person that is really active and wants to use it anytime, anywhere she is, and have a cool feature when, if I see her pain points and frustrations, when she lacks new ideas. So she wants a feature that can help her, let's say, create a special route in Google Maps. And the second one, which is Yuki, is also in need of specific ideas where he might need to use this app, but he also needs to optimize his time when he is out on a new city, for instance. So he needs a route that can take him only 1 hour to complete. So these things are currently harder to find in Google Maps because you need to go into specific filters and it takes a bit of time. So what if we just had a small button that will solve all the problems? I'm going to turn off my screen a little bit and I can share you that before even going to the prototype, you create your own sketches to set things up. So here are something I really sketched like, let's say 10 minutes or 20 before the workshop began, but it's only allowing me to lay out the elements and how I want it to look in the end. So it's really low fidelity. That means that it's not even close to what it's going to look in the end. So I'm going back to share. Okay, I'm going to just look at the chat. Oh, how to delete an image. Just hit return like this, backspace, and it's okay. Okay, thank you, Cherry. I'm sorry, I can't really answer to every questions right now. We're a bit late on time. So first thing first, I'm going to create the widget, the Gemini widget. So I'm going to create an ellipsis, which is the same size as this button. I'm going to place it here. And I'm going to go back to Figma because if you want, I created every Google products icons. So this is also to show you how these two softwares really communicate with each other. There's the Gemini icon. I click on it, I copy it, and then I'm going to paste it in my design file. And then boom, magic, it's already there. So I reduce it a bit. I'm going to group them up and I'm going to create a new component. So I'll leave the original outside. I'm only going to copy an instance. I'll place it right there. So you can also see that Figma is pretty well made because it tells you whether you align with other elements or the distance within them. The 27 figure you have there is the distance in pixels between these two elements. And if you want to display it, you just need to select any element and hit Alt or Option for Mac users. And you can see the distance within the frame of each other elements. And it's also really more easier to see things up. So let's say that my first state, I wanted to have this white background. So this is the initial state where it's not triggered. I'm going to use properties to create a first variant. To be more, to make things more easily, I'm going to enlarge the size of the components space. So it's easier for me to create and manage my variants. And I'll create a hover variant. So a hover, that means that once I hover the mouse over it, it will react. So I'll keep the shape over there with its color, but I'm gonna change the background color. I'm gonna change it to, let's say, a deep blue, like this. Yep. I create the interaction between both of them. So once again, I see the plus, I drag the arrow here. And if I created two properties without wanting, there's also the possibility to delete them. So you can delete it either as using backspace or using the minus. And if you want to edit any properties, you just need to click on the line over there, and it will pop up the model where you can edit the interaction properties. So here, I'm going to change it to while hovering. So that means that once my mouse will pass over the blue circle, it will trigger the animation. Ease out, yep. And this is only the interaction I have between these two. So let's create what truly triggers my animation. Yep. I'm gonna set the constraints. So these constraints means that if I resize my shape, it will be aligned on the right and at the bottom sizes of the screens. Like it will go like this, not like this. I'm gonna change the size of this model. And I'm gonna keep my red dot over there the same size. So it is 56. So here is the Gemini icon. Oops. Gemini icon and stuff over there. I'm gonna change it up to 56 over there. All right. Sorry, someone asked me a question. Yep, that was the same. Okay. And now I have a larger frame for this property. So that means that once it will go on the variant 3 state, the property will have this size. So that means that we can fill content over there. So we can create a model. So if I want, I can also directly add a background to this variant. So that means that I can add another background, sorry, rather than the button over there. So I hit variant, I hit fill, and let's say I want something more grayish just to see the button over there. Okay. And we said corner radius. Okay. And previously I said that the main edits of the components will impact all the instances, but we can also do it the other way around. If we have the instance component here and we need to check out which size it will have in the final app, well, you can also do this just by changing the size directly over there. And if you click, because you see, if you change the instance, it doesn't change the master component. So if I right click there, and if um, uh, this property is not available anymore. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I could push the changes to the main components. Okay, so it's not available anymore. I don't know why. But usually you can change locally the properties of the master component, and then it's going to impact the final component as well. All right, so I'm going to lock these two so they don't move. And okay, here is the final state. So if I want it variant free, Tac, tac. Okay. So now I have the final size of my model. I break down to 56 like usual. And then I'm gonna start to import the Google design assets to create the Google Gemini model. So a model is it's called modal, if I want to say it exactly. It's a window that pops up with more instructions in front of another instructions. So I'm going to look for Google Materials Design Assets. So it's over there. Open it in Figma. And it's going to pop up at some point. I have the memory usage window. Don't worry, it's normal. Okay. So it's imported in my, oh, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm in a bit of trouble. I'm going back to my file. Yes. I'll show you how to import the assets in your design system. Alrighty. Okay. If you ever ask these two options, you can make a new copy of the file so you can have access to any of these. How can I make the bottom largest, latest in the area, draggable upwards? Where is it? Ah, yeah, draggable upwards. So to do this, for instance, I'm going to duplicate the two screens. If I have these, I'm going to hit the card with largest in the area, and I'll create an interaction which is called on drag. And on the second screen, I'm gonna move these two upwards like this, and also these two upwards. So if I preview my file, you'll see that between these two states, I just change the prototype interaction. I change it to smart, yeah, smart animates. Allows you to show how to really bring it up. Okay, so if I grab it, you see there, it's going upwards. And you also need to do the back and forth. You need to do the animation that goes backwards. So if I create an interaction and click on drag, then it's going to change like this, like this. All right. Oh, okay, here it is. So please make sure that you all have access to this one. And I'm gonna go to buttons over there. Yes, buttons. I'm going to my component here, and I'll create a search bar. So here it is. I call it search here. And down there, I'm going to, if I can have, so if you're lost in the many components you need to use, you can also check out the example tabs. It's quite well done, actually, this one. And I'll try to look for, let's say a card. Yes, like this. So I click on go to main component. Okay, okay. Okay, well, just a simple label will be plenty enough. Okay, so I cast it on my screen. Gather it like this. I'm gonna change the corner radius to 8. And we'll be it will be my first suggestion, like you have in Google Gemini. I don't know if you checked it out already. See there, Google Gemini. Like this, it has a kind of handful suggestions like this. So I'm gonna duplicate it. So to duplicate an element, you can either hit Control D like this, and then the duplication is over the original one. Then you can drag it in your file. Or you can also Alt, right click, and drag, and create a new copy. So here is roughly my widgets. So now, oh, I'll just take back this blue color and I'll change it here. If you don't want to go through any of your layers, you see that there is the selection colors panel, which brings up every colors within the frame. So if I want to change the gray, I don't even need to click on this one. I just need to click on the components, look for the gray, and then change its X color like this. So an interaction to create the property. I'm going to hit instance. That's okay. And then if I bring it back to the first stage, I'll go hit this one just to close it. Then we should normally have the 3 stages of the single component, which are hovering. So what goes wrong with my hovering? Okay, dissolve. Just replace it. That's okay. Like this, yes. Hovering, and if I click, is displaced. Okay, I just change its position. That's okay. That's the benefit of a widget. So it's right there. Okay. And now I'm going to create the transition between this screen without any results and the other one where I created a result. So like last time, I'm going to use a screen capture I just did. So this one, yep, let's say this one. So I copy the image. So if you want also to extract an element that is below a large amount of layers like this, if you want to extract the element that is far below in the deep end of the layer stack, you can hit Control, and while holding it, you click on the element, and then you have the picture. And to extract it, you can copy and paste it like this. So here, I'm going to replace the original, and I'm going to resize it so it matches the screen. And there, send it to backwards. I don't need all the other elements on the top because I'm going to create other stuff. So I select any other elements within the frame. I deselect the photo at the bottom by holding Shift. So I'll show you once more. Select everything, or you can just go to the layers and Control A to select anything. And by holding Shift or Control, you can deselect individual layers like this. So I'm going to deselect the background and hit backspace. And now we have the 2 screens of the state we want. And components not only interact within each other to create variants, they can also interact with other screens. What I mean is that if I hit search here, once my widget is deployed, I want it to land directly on this frame. So I'm simply going to use the interaction property and drag it towards the second screen. And then if I click right, what I'll see is, once I preview it, I'll leave it open. So we won't have time to load up. That will be far more easy. I'm sorry, I just have to rush things up because we're gonna lack of time, and I'm show you the last cool feature, which is to preview it on your phone. This is my promise. Okay. So please load up. Please load up. Okay, whatever. I'm going to show you with the final version, which is this one. I already made one last night just to try if that worked properly. So be careful also, Figma eats a lot of your memory on your computer. So it's really hungry for memory. So be careful. It will consume a lot of resources from your computer. So make sure you don't have too much Google Chrome tabs open up, because if you lack RAM, random access memory, it will impact your prototyping. So I hope it will load because it worked earlier. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's not a problem. I'm going to move to the next phase. And this phase will be to show you how to preview your prototype on your smartphone. So to do this, I'm going to show you directly my phone. Yep, you're going to see my phone in an instant. Okay, start now. So now what you see right now is my phone. You see there. Hello. I'm going to go to Figma, and you see that you have all the recent files you created. So if you need to have the same account as in your browser. That's what I meant. So I'm going to my previous file where I created the screens. That's right there. And I'm going to find this one. Yep. I'm going into preview mode. Oh, it finished loading up. Perfect. So in the end, the animation should look ah, should look like this. Where is where is it? Well, yeah, never mind. We're gonna do it through the phone. So now you see that, like earlier, I have my animation with the drag and drop that I used, and all of these interactions are available through mobile. So what I did in my computer can be previewed directly on the phone, and that's really the last step you want to have once you do prototyping, because it's the most important, is to make people test your prototype. So obviously, to be testable, this one needs a bit more work, a bit more edits, let's say so. But that's the rough idea. And you'll grow naturally better in using Figma. And it'll be far more easier to use the design assets from official design systems, such as Google Design. And yeah, you'll progress naturally, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna shut this because it's time right now. I'm gonna stop my screen And that's it for today. All right. Thank you, anyone. Thank you very much for attending this workshop. Yeah, I'm sorry for the last minutes. I think I'm running through network issues. That's unfortunate. Yeah, you're welcome, Cindy. And yeah, the that's usually a bit of problematic when you use Figma. It's like I said, it's really hungry for RAM memories, so it's okay. So I really want to know with the chat. Thank you. Thank you very much, Aya. Did you learn some things interesting? How did you find Figma and FigJam? Was it not too blurry, the explanations? I'm really keen to have your feedback on it. So if you also want to open your mic just to speak, that'd be great. So don't be shy. Anyone can talk. Yeah, not enough time. I agree. I definitely agree. And I try maybe to go into maybe too specific details, but these are really the beginning. And I run into put you on the right tracks right at the start just to look all the tools and stuff. So yeah, maybe I'll do another workshop just to go deeper into details. All right. Okay, so you
All right.
can
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone for joining Elwin's workshop, and glad everyone enjoyed it, and it was very interesting and very insightful. So I'd like to share the video link the meetup comment section by Friday. So yeah, stay tuned. And if you guys are interested, follow Elwin's on LinkedIn, and yeah.
and if you want, I can give you directly my personal website so it can be easier for me to have all the information. From concept to prototype was cool. Thank you. That was really the challenge of this workshop, was really from starting to scratch to have something which is more fancy and using design assets. But yeah, let's get in touch if you want on LinkedIn, and don't hesitate to ask me specific questions about LinkedIn, because Figma is ever-growing software. It's evolving really, really fast. 1 month ago, we had the Config, which is the annual conference of Figma, when they introduce any new features, any new big features, and it grows quite quickly. But once you're in it, it's really, really super cool to learn about not only prototyping, not only UX design, but FakeJam, for instance. It can be used for any other aspects of user research or just for teamwork if you are working remotely. It's easy to share data, to share stuff together, or just to brainstorm a bit together. So that's really a really good tool to use. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And now it's the time. So it's time to say goodbye to Ellen and hope to see you again. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, everyone. Thank you for your time. See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.